Going back in time here in Oceanside, thousands and thousands of years, the people now known as the Luiseno people have been here, also known as the Payum Quechua, the people of the West, has been the traditional caretakers of the land, stewards of the land, and living in a time when I'm sure there was plenty of sand on the beach for everyone to go around. But that being said, we're still here, and as a tribe, and up and down into Riverside, and still participating in every level there is of community. Still stewards of the land, looking forward to take care of it and what help everyone in this community also. So thank you very much.
State law has required things like notification to our tribe, and we do have the sovereign nation of the San Luis Band of Mission Indians here in Oceanside. They have consistently requested notification and to be included for any project to have oversight and basically monitor the projects. Unfortunately, and certainly not at the because of any fault of the city or those that have a lease on the land, or the tribe. There's no fault here, but unfortunately we have not, for the last 35 years, have not been in compliance with state law. We did receive a letter from the San Luis Band of Mission Indians. The tribe is here. Basically, the request from the tribe is that they are committed to stand with the City of Oceanside as stewards of many important sites within our community. The tribe also respects when the city must act as the primary guardian, as we do here, being the owners of public land. Regarding the Ivey Ranch Park area, we strongly urge the City Council to fully recognize its value as a first contact, pre-Oceanside, pre-California, pre-mission site, and resolve to act as its primary guardian in registering it as historically significant and align its protection within the city's planning guidelines, development requirements, and lease agreements. Registration of a Payum Quechua first contact site at Quechla, Ivey Ranch Community Park, should be completed under the Oceanside Historical Preservation Permit procedures, the California Register of Historic Resources regulations as a state landmark, and under the Federal Register of Historic Places. I have asked the tribe to do a presentation. Carrie Lopez, one of the tribal leaders, is here, and she'll be doing a presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you to the City Council for welcoming us here to present on this very critical subject. I am here on behalf of the Tribal Council. You saw Captain Mel Vernon earlier. There's also on behalf of council members, Charlotte Herrera, Roberta Estrada, Cerda, Bobbie John Garcia, David Herrera, Carmen Mojado, and Mary Lou Beltran. We're also very lucky to have many tribal members here today to encourage this action and thank the council for the direction that this is going in. If tribal members could stand in way.
Tribal members, please stand.
We are very, very much wanting to express our gratitude. This has been a year of major discussions, of trying to get our arms around what the significance of this site and who needs to fulfill what role. We are here to provide testimony on the significance of this site, of the history of this region, and why it should be recognized by the city and community of Oceanside. As was mentioned, this is as first contact as we get. It's not just pre-Oceanside or pre-California, it is pre-mission, which is a very unique, and for the entire region of North San Diego County and Camp Pendleton, it is very difficult to pinpoint an exact location where the populations were integrated. This is a government-to-government request, and as the lead agency, City of Oceanside, we urge you, as the primary guardian as well, to proceed in registering the site. As mentioned, a Payam Cowicham first contact site at Quechla, today known as Ivey Ranch Community Park. It is registered as historically significant and align its protection within the city's and state's planning guidelines. The Ivey Ranch Park area represents one of the most significant areas in our region. This is where our ancestors were forced to remain, living, working, and were baptized while the old mission San Luis Rey was being constructed. Registration should be completed under Oceanside Historical Preservation procedures, California Register of Historic Resource Regulations as a state landmark, and under Federal Register of Historic Places. I've asked one of our cultural resources experts, our very own cultural resource protection and preservation manager, to speak to the significance of the site.
Hi, my name is Cammie Mojado, and I'm actually a member of the San Luis Rey Band of Mission Indians, as well as a cultural resource manager for Saving Sacred Sites, which operates a service for the tribe. I'm here today to talk about the importance of this area, which is a village Luiseno complex. It was inhabited by our ancestors, and now it has historical importance as well. But we need to remember that this whole area was a village complex which resides on the mission grounds as well as on Ivey Ranch. This area has been a village site long before it was developed into the mission with limitless academic potential. The fact the mission was built here only increases the significance by holding archaeological evidence of my people's colonization and radical transformation of our land and culture in such a short amount of time. This area is very important and significant to our history, to our people, to our culture. This is where traditions were made and created and actually had done, not only for memorial, birth, it's just all the ceremonies into the whole package. I'm asking that this area be protected. And that's my role for the tribe, is to make sure that these areas of significance are protected for now and for the past. Not only are we saying this area is significant and important, it's also being said in these books, the archaeological books, for all the constructions that are happening within the Oceanside Historic District, from Caltrans widening of the 76 to Helix's investigations that still lie within SDI 5422, which encompasses Ivey Ranch itself, that they have, with all the archaeological investigations, everything that has come up artifact-wise says this place is important. And we want to make sure that we immortalize this. So right now, the tribe is in the process of trying to recover all the artifacts that have been done for the investigations within this complex itself to bring back to our people so we can repatriate and put them back where they belong. This is a non-renewable resource. Any impacts to the soils in the ground within Ivey Ranch or in the mission grounds itself is a non-renewable resource and impact to our culture. So we ask that this actually be eligible for the register.
Thank you, Cammie. This has been a long journey that brought us here today. Just over a year ago, we got the first call, innocently enough, from the city mayor to our tribal captain, asking about an item on the Historic Preservation Commission agenda. We, of course, knew about the Mission San Luis Rey item that we had participated in and commented on, But regarding the Ivey Ranch Park project, we had no idea. And so it's taken about a year of conversation and really coming to terms and getting our arms around and embracing the fact that this is not only just an important site, but it is the city as the property owner that has to stand up as the primary guardian first, and then all along with the tribe's commitment to stand up as a co-steward. This is a big issue, but because it fell through the cracks of being waived out of certain regulations, including the city's own mission district regulations, but also the CEQA regulations, there was not notification given. We just didn't have that opportunity. So I do want to echo the insistence that there's nobody to blame at this point. But now we know, we all know, and collectively we have this responsibility to mark this this area as significant. The distinction of recognizing and registering this site, what different, everybody was asked, what difference does it make? It requires having the registration then trickles down to requiring notification, requiring that this case, that making the case for its significance doesn't have to happen every time a proposal for improvement or development happens in this area. It just automatically is accepted, and we start the conversation from there. That is what the tribe is interested in. That's what the city should be interested in. What would be different? And difference is those conversations about how to manage the property, how to improve it, how to develop it, how to educate about it, starts from the acceptance that this has been already acknowledged as significant, and it doesn't have to keep repeating. Our successors, your successors, start from that point. The other point that also I want to close with is that this is not about celebrating what happened there. This is not, there's a lot of contention that this is something that we want to applaud. We only applaud your effort to mark this history. This is, we should all collectively be paying reverence to what had happened there in the past, and that we should not forget, and that we should learn from what happened. And this is something that we have taken very seriously in our modern relationship with the mission itself. We applaud the city for living up to the commitment as the primary guardian, and the tribe is committed to standing with you as co-stewards in fulfilling this responsibility. Whatever you need, we're here. We're here for the rest of the journey. This is the right thing to do, and we appreciate your action.
Thank you.
This is the village site in question. Thank you.
And it will be my motion, I believe. Councilmember Figueroa, you were going to be seconding the motion? All right. So we are going to go back to, we're going to go to the public. I understand there's 53 requests to speak?
Currently right now, there's 54 requests to speak and one group presentation.
And what?
One group presentation.
Okay, so 54 requests. That's going to be a 1 minute. Each person's going to get 1 minute to speak on this item. And then, of course,
Would you want to hear the group presentation first and then the speakers, or?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, so you will have 1 minute. We have 2 speaker podiums. As you see your name up on the screen, come on and start making your way down. We have 2 podiums, so please make your way to the next available podium.
The importance about preserving our Oceanside culture. Before Oceanside was incorporated in the 1800s, it was all Luiseno land, and artifacts are there, they're buried, and we need to preserve the heritage. This is Oceanside, this is the beginning of Oceanside, And we need to support our people and keep these traditions, keep these artifacts, and the memory of what happened in Oceanside, not to forget it, not to erase it because of what's going on. History is being erased, and we can't let this be erased at all. Thank you.
Yeah, hello, Mayor, council members. I'd like to understand that we also, as a tribe, are in support of what Ivey Ranch is doing with the programs. It's not about the programs. This is about the earth on which the ranch is there. So understand that there's a lot of emotion here tonight, and that we understand that too. It's not a conflict at that level. This is something that that supports the basis, the foundation where that ranch is at. This is addressing something that's been happening all along, or to catch up with the present. And also, we were connected with the other developments that we've been doing for years in understanding that. So understand that this is not a conflict. It's actually bringing things together in a timely way that needs to be addressed. Thank you.
My name is Diania Caudell, and I'm a member of the San Luis Rey Band of Mission Indians. And I really respect what happens with the Ivey Ranch and what's happening there. I'm also a past horse owner, and my children grew up with the horses, etc. So I really respect that. But I have a question that the person, I don't know your name, I didn't get your name, ma'am, but you said that for 1889, your ranch is a historical site already? Okay, she's a tenant, she's not a landowner. San Luis Rey Band of Mission Indians is asking the City of Oceanside to register the land for a historical site. Nobody's taken away the ranch. The ranch has been there for a while. My dad used to work with you. I was born here and raised here in Oceanside, you know, with the Davy Jones Ranch and in the valley. I come from one of the prominent families there in the valley. And this is what I have the confusion on. We're not taking away the Ivey Ranch. We're not taking away. Please consider that. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak. I am a descendant of one of the original Bellas of San Luis Rey. My ancestors lived on this land and built the mission you have a picture of here in Chambers. This land is sacred, a sacred site for our Luiseno people. Our history needs to be preserved, and the Luiseno story needs to be told. I commend the work that Ivey Ranch does. However, I believe the tenants have outgrown this site, and the landowners of this site need to recognize this. I urge you to vote yes.
As a tribal council member, we've been in front of many city municipalities, different areas, the county, all the different cities in the area, and it's usually about one thing: development and expansion. Development and expansion over cultural resource sites. The cultural resources show that my ancestors, tribal members, you know, even been born on the ranch, have died on the ranch, have lived on the ranch, and the cultural resources they left behind. They didn't, you know, 4,000 people lived in that valley, in that area. And so we have to honor their past, honor what they've set aside in the ground. Nothing was above the ground, okay? So we have rules and regulations. The generation before us and with us have set rules and regulations. My generation as a tribal council member have been diligently trying to follow the rules and follow the guidelines that have set before us when we come across government property lands, because there's CEQA and NAGFRA and all these rules to follow. So
Thank you.
I won't be here in 50 years, and we need to follow
Thank
the
you.
guidelines to accept.
So basically, it sounds like some folks are thinking that by registering this land as historic is somehow going to have all the uses that are currently on there disappear, and that is not happening. This is historic registration for actually land that is historic, that is of first, evidence of first contact, that's high critical importance within the state of California. The state of California actually protects and has laws to protect these types of sacred sites, historic cultural resources. Unfortunately, this has not happened on Ivey Ranch Park. For whatever reason, it was not included in the Mission District. This is where one of the walls of the Mission is located. This is where we have even fountains from that are also archaeological and cultural resources. There is so much that is happened where the tribe has not been notified. Last year, this was on the agenda, and on the day of the council meeting, I made a call to Carrie Lopez, who's one of the tribal members, as well as Mel Vernon, who is the captain, and I asked them if they had any input onto this item. They were not notified. They were not notified. We had zero requirements that were attached to the staff report as to monitoring requirements that we normally do on sites that we do not have any knowledge of whether or not there are critical artifacts and or bones. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, we have not had any procedures with respect to Ivey Ranch Park. Ivey Ranch Park is a public park. It should have access to the public. I know that there are some places that have private property signs, which, should not have been happening. There's a lease. There are 3 leases on this property, each about 30 years. This is down to the last few years of the lease. During that time, there has not been preservation of indigenous cultural artifacts and articles. So I understand that there is a great emotion here with respect to programs that are happening. Those programs would continue. Councilmember Figueroa, did you want to say anything more? Because we already have a motion and a second, but I wanted you to speak to the second.
Yes, I definitely would, yeah. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone who came today to speak. I know that it was not easy to come up here. I've been here myself as a community resident. It can be very intimidating. I've been up here feeling anxious at times when I'm speaking before I was on council, but my entire career has been in nonprofits, running after school programs, working with youth, our underserved youth in Oceanside and some of our underserved communities. Most recently, I was an executive director of a homeless shelter for families with children. We maintained our own site. At times it did feel like we could use more space to help more people in our community. So I'm still in nonprofits. That's what I do full time. I'm a nonprofit, professional. I was first introduced to the site, not as a council member, but as a father. I took my daughters to the site. I didn't know that everything was on the campus. I was there with my daughters using the playground, and they love horses. They wanted to see the horses. My first introduction to the campus itself was when Tanya reached out, I believe like 2 months ago, and invited me for a tour. I was very impressed by the programming. I didn't know that Canine Companions was there. I didn't know that Casa Amparo was there. They've been a partner of mine throughout some of the programs that I've ran in the past. I've always said that a program's impact will be reflected by the clients that it serves. If a program is extraordinary, then those that it serves will be its biggest spokes people, for that program. I think it was evident tonight. It is evident by all of you sharing how special Ivey Ranch is and the impact that it has on the community. I commend the board. If any of the members of the board are here, for the support you've provided Ivey Ranch. I commend Tanya for her leadership and staff for the service that you provide. Since I've toured the Ivey Ranch site, I've also talked to members of the tribe, and I was educated. I was educated about that land. I'm born and raised in Oceanside, so before I always pride myself on being, this is my home. It's always been my home, but I know that before it was my home and my family was here, the tribe was here, and I know that when I didn't know that this was a land of first contact. Pre-Oceanside, pre-California, pre-mission. This is where tribal ancestors were forced to remain, living, working, where they were baptized by the old mission ray, those within the San Luis mission. I think that there's been a little bit of miscommunication, at least, and I'll speak fully for myself. The intent for me to support making this a historical site was to honor the tribe's history within that land. It's never not been to preserve the amazing programming that takes place within Ivey Ranch. I fully support the program, the equestrian, the canine companions, and Casa de Amparo. I support all the programming that's taking place on that land. I do not want the programming to stop. This is not to impede or hinder the existing current programming that takes place at Ivey Ranch. I think that it's doing remarkable work. I think both things are possible. I hope both things are possible, where we can deem this land a historic site for the tribe and still continue to provide the services that Ivey Ranch is providing our community. And that's why, for me, myself, that's why I support making this land a historic site. But at the same time, I support Ivey Ranch. And so I don't think it's one over the other. I hope that both can be possible. I know it's a very sensitive topic, but I think this is two communities have an emotional attachment to this land. And I think both are very justifiable for having that emotional attachment. And those are my comments. And I do second making this land historical.
Thank you. Councilmember Robinson?
Thank you. So before I get into some of the questions or some of the statements I have, I just want to say what I did today. I'd been out to Ivey Ranch several times. Most recently, I was out there, other than this morning, I was out there volunteering on the Martin Luther King Day of Service, and a number of us were volunteering in the community garden, and I can assure you that piece of land has been worked over. But I went out there today, drove around, probably drove some spots where I shouldn't have been, but I looked as much of every parking lot, everywhere I went, and it's inconceivable that someone could go out there and look and find parts of that land that has not been disturbed already, that has not been turned over, has not been built upon, has not been paved over. So I really don't believe that there's any part of that development out there that has not already been disturbed. That said, and there's been a lot of discussion about the expansion, and we can talk about that maybe in a few minutes, but I have had, or maybe not, Carrie, I did talk to Carrie Lopez on the phone one day about the site, and she explained to me the significance, and I think Doug Smith kind of said it when he spoke about the protection of the land and how that can happen. I think Councilmember Figueroa was kind of saying the same thing. And I told her that, given the significance, I could support, there's an old pocket park out there, I don't know how well it's used. If it's not used, maybe we do something to put some sort of tribal recognition out there or something for education. That whole park is full of nothing but education and teaching. And I think that would be a very good use of it. But I want to go through a couple things in the letter we received. So just going through it on the first page where it says researchers can, and this is highlighted not by me, but by, I believe, by the tribe who sent this to us. Researchers concluded that portions, and I did circle portions, of this plot have intact deposits. So there may be, San Luis insists that first contact site, the guardians of this site need to be protected accordingly. It needs to be registered as a historic place, and then I underline this, subsurface impact needs to be avoided. So then as you read through this letter, there's other parts that were highlighted for us. And in one section it says, the City of Oceanside, historical resource for the City of Oceanside, and that associated historic area archaeological deposits could, underlined, provide important information on agricultural and rural development at the turn of the century. I don't know how you would know that or how you would use that information without doing some sort of archaeological work on the site. If there's value in history, you have to go down and find it and look at it. But then part of it says, well, we're not going to disturb it, but let's move on. Let's see. He concludes the site contains important information on European impacts on Luiseno, maybe the last example of its kind. Let's take that for its value. It possesses stratigraphic integrity and is over 100 years old. So, okay, so let's say that's true. Here's where I think where the fear comes from. If you go to the next paragraph, it says any new site surveys should include the tribe, and in addition to this process, the waivers from CEQA, the mission area planning requirements should be reconsidered, as well as current lease requirements and expectations. And I think this is the part that is really unspoken. And when we say, oh, it's going to continue, I don't believe that there is currently a desire to let these leases continue. And I think you do have, because one of the speakers, I didn't get her last name, Laura, she basically said it, and I've heard others say it, is that, oh, they've outgrown their usefulness and they need to move on. Let's see. Then it keeps going. It says we're recognized as a partner, that the tribe wants to be recognized as a partner and a co-steward. And I'd love to know how that's defined and what does that mean. I just, who's going to make the decisions? And basically what it would mean, and I wish I would have known a little bit, Mayor, about AB 52, because I would have had some time to research it and look it up. But what I have been able to look in the associated documents with that is that basically the tribe, if this is dedicated a resource, the tribe would have really final say on what takes place out there. So I have some real concerns with that. And we're looking at documents and research that goes back anywhere from 23 to 34 years. And I don't know that anything has been done to validate these studies that were done back then. We have different methodologies of doing that. That is a little bit concerning for me, that we don't have new recent information. Yeah, for current plans to expansion, there's a section that's highlighted, that basically says permit required to alter, demolish, et cetera. It's unlawful for any person to tear down, demolish, construct, alter, blah, 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 or any landscape feature. I think that gets to the heart of doing any expansion or anything else on this piece of land. And so when we say, this school, this use will continue, I don't believe that that's guaranteed. At least that's not going to happen tonight if this was to pass. And I think it's worth, let me ask City Attorney, can I show these? Okay. Let me, because I think it's important everybody sees it. You can just show them in the order they are. How much time I got? Oh, good, I'll go fast. So this is the area where
the time stopped. Can you continue it? Yeah.
Go on. I want my seconds back. This is the area when they talk about the expansion. It's this area between the building and the fence. If you can show the next one, I just want to show it. So this is the slope looking up at that. Don't get excited by the pottery. That's old. That's not old. And then go and show the next one. That's just another view of where the expansion would be around the tree. If you walk that, it's really hard to believe that surface has never been touched or has never been, it just isn't possible. So But we're here to talk about this thing, and I can't support it. I think I'm happy to support doing something with the tribe to commemorate the land, to teach people about it. But I think anything that we would do that would put these three, and again, the other two tenants out there were not here to speak and not invited, and I wish they had been. Casa de Amparo and Canine Companions, they're all on leases and they come due at different times. And my fear by doing this is we basically we're going to say, don't renew. The council, the tribe could deny renewal of a lease, I believe, and I just don't think it's a good idea. So I am not going to support this.
Okay, Councilmember Weiss. Councilmember Weiss.
Thank you. Just so you know, we're all coming to your places of work tomorrow. We're going to clap when you do something good. Just had to say it. So as part of the historic permit for the expansion, there was an additional cultural resources survey done. And I just want to read two parts of it. The area where the addition will occur has been leveled in the past and is highly disturbed. Therefore, the potential for an intact and significant cultural deposit associated with SDI 5422 is considered low. The proposed addition will result in no historic properties affected and no adverse effects to a historical resource. And in a separate paragraph, it says Caltrans evaluated the Ivey Ranch house twice in 1982 and 1990 for eligibility to the National Register of Historic Places. In both cases, the ranch house and its setting was found not eligible because of extensive alterations to the building and its setting. A historic evaluation in 1992 also found the ranch house not eligible for the National Register of Historic Places. I know we're not declaring it. It has to go through a process, but I don't believe that process is going to result in that site being declared a National Register for Historic Places. And so I won't be supporting the matter either. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Joyce.
Thank you. Could I ask staff to clarify? I'm not sure which staff would clarify, but ultimately, would this mean, what would this mean? I guess if we voted yes tonight, what would happen next?
Mr. Brega.
Honorable Mayor and council members, in terms of process, if you were to vote yes tonight, then essentially we would do the research to figure out what we would need to do to obtain those designations that are a part of this action, and then bring that back to council for consideration, dependent upon what your specific role in that process would be.
Okay, so just for clarity's sake, even a yes vote tonight means whatever the action is going to actually happen would have to come back for full consideration. So today doesn't designate anything historical, correct?
This is direction to staff to go ahead and register with the city, with the state, and with National Register.
That's not how we've done
That is direction to the staff. And so what would come back to us would be the results of those efforts. Is that correct?
Based on what you just described, I guess the answer to that would be yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
But
there's
and
a comment by Councilmember Weiss that he doesn't think that they will actually be accepted as historic resources, cultural resources. So that would mean that it wouldn't go through. Is that correct? Then you would be saying to us, it was not accepted.
Yes, and the point to my earlier statement about bringing it back to city council was to the extent that that official designation would require city council action. I'm not sure if it does or not. We haven't done that extent of research, and that's kind of the point that I was trying to make earlier.
Okay. All right.
So that's part of my question. Sorry, Steve, go ahead.
I would just add that at the local level, it does require council action. So while we do not control the state or federal actions. At the local level, we have a process, and the process includes a public hearing, and it includes notice to the community and all the stakeholders' involvement, and it requires studies, and it requires time and expense to engage in all of those processes. So the direction tonight would be direction to potentially engage in that if that was the council's direction. But it would be the start of a process. It would not be final action, at least at the local level.
Okay. So should it actually get through despite Councilmember Weiss's pessimism on it? What would that mean? Would what Councilmember Robinson said be in fact true about every lease being reviewed by the tribe for an up and down kind of notion? I want some clarity because I'd like to know what the outcomes of this really are. There's a lot of information and floating around. Anybody have an answer on that one?
So technically, no, we are the landowner and the lease is with us as the landowner. We have the consent and control. The historic designation, depending on the level, I think as was alluded to earlier, it kind of depends on where you start the process for certain historical permits. There's already a historical permit requirement for the location because it's in a historical area. Mm-hmm. This would be more focal as to the site. And so it would overlay part of the process. But I think that the end result of the process is effectively the same, that there's CEQA requirements and other requirements that come into play that already exist. So I don't know that there's a meaningful distinction in that way. But some of the requests that were in the letter are broader than just the historical designation. And I think that's where some of the concern that you were hearing may have been raised to.
And so that would be a future conversation on what it would look like, because we're not advancing that the letter just go forward. We're advancing that these processes start. Again, I'm just seeking clarification.
That's the motion.
Okay. Thank you. First of all, thank you for being here. We had a number of really tremendous speakers, and I know as someone who works in the space of developmental disabilities, it can be a long night to be here. So I appreciate everyone who's here. I appreciate the caregivers and everyone who cares and has a deep love for the programs at Ivey Ranch. That is more than apparent by your presence here and your willingness to speak on, and your courage to speak at moments that is really difficult. So I appreciate that. Yeah, many of the speakers tonight brought up how woefully inadequate our systems are at providing places for folks with disabilities to thrive. And that's absolutely the case. It is a pox on our moral capabilities as a society that we don't provide more to the folks to everyone who deserves it. The work of Ivey Ranch and every single thing done to provide those spaces where people can thrive outside of the normal boxes that we're asked to operate in is something that I am deeply committed to continuing and supporting. There's a need, and you all are filling a space that we need 100 of you, not less of you. To that end, I do think coexistence in this space is going to be vital. There was talk about a narrative even of taking away, and it's a little ironic because all of this is based on like a taking that has happened over and over again. I will go on record again to say that I will work with everyone at Ivey Ranch to preserve and, if possible, expand the programs. I know every one of you want to create more spaces where more young people and adults can experience what your loved one is experiencing. And every inch of my heart wants to vote as you've come in to ask me to do. And just, I want you to know that. I know that you're here because parents of children with special needs have to fight like hell for everything you do, whether it's in the school systems where I'm at, or if it's before the school systems, or what's even less after the school system is there. So I do want to say, though, with full consideration of the site's historic heritage, I'm going to support the start of this process tonight with a yes vote. I also am going to honor my commitment to you all to preserve the programs that are in place for the future. So you have me, you know where I'm at. I'm here to work with you. Okay?
Let's vote.
Motion approved, 3-2, Robinson Weiss, no.
Thank you.